Alright, let's reprise where we left off with the poor Jason Bourne being drifted at the sea and then being, rescued by some Italian, fishermen.
Just like in the movie.
Yeah.
Maybe not exactly like the movie.
They really took kindness on him, even went so far as to pull the bullet out of him.
And they find his identification. Oh.
What are you doing to me? You're an fishing boat.
And this guy is absolutely not even trying to do an Italian accent.
I remember, did he have an Italian accent in the movie?
If I recall correctly, he was actually an Italian actor.
Who are you? It's not much, but it should get you to Switzerland. Maybe.
Unfortunately, we're gonna skip, not necessarily skip most of it, but we're gonna jump immediately to when he gets to Zurich, because it's connected to a previous mission that he had, which we will transition into. Mino habla Deutsch? Yeah?
Yes, folks, in case you don't know, the Swiss speak German, mostly.
Well, 3 languages, Swiss, Italian, and French.
Depends what part of the country you're in.
Being sandwiched between mostly those 3 nations, it comes in handy.
His name is Divandelen, former general in the Turkish army. 6 months ago, the CIA
Joel?
was working with
Oh my god, that is Joel!
So there you go. Turns out I wasn't aware that The Last of Us and the Bourne conspiracy took place in the same universe.
It all makes sense now.
But guys, why the hell didn't Jason Bourne help us during the apocalypse?
Well, he was busy.
Did you know, Dwebs, that Bourne was actually one of the first people to turn into one of the zombies.
Cordyceps zombie.
That down.
Remember, okay, you don't know Dweebs. They kind of make a similar joke like that in the 2020 The Stand series, where one of the first things they ask is two cases. One, if they ask if Tom Cruise is still alive, and another if The Rock is still alive.
What happened? Is The Rock still president? Sorry, The Rock president, sorry.
You think he's gonna make a cameo in Sonic 2 as president?
Honestly, I would not be surprised, and I would not mind. Sonic.
If they do that, I would be so happy.
Yeah.
The first part is you infiltrating the airport by the by the parking lot, and you can essentially have to pull a stealth onto these security guards, which are not really your main target. Your main target supposedly is this convicted who's supposed to be transferred, but it's pretty clear that his men are trying to bust him out, so it's basically a race to the target. Nothing to see here, fine gent. Please accept my fees as compensation.
Look, Patch, just imagine it. Jim Carrey negotiating, right after blowing up half the moon, Jim Carrey negotiating with President Rock, the terms of their surrender. It's like Sonic Adventure 2.
Yes.
So, there you go.
Leave the parking garage or face prosecution.
So who the hell is this Divandelen guy anyway?
Supposed to be some hotshot Russian merc. Made a ton of money selling weapons to the NLA.
NLA.
Eastern European terrorists. Blew up a few pipelines, freight us, hijacked a plane over the Ukraine.
Nice. Hope it hazard pay. Good luck with that.
Yeah, let's move on. Alright, if I recall correctly, I'm gonna try to take away these first. Yes, officer, you totally did not see me going behind you. Again, these guards have very specific tunnel visions.
It just works for the scenario. No, thank
whatever.
you.
Why aren't you helping me? Hit him from behind or something.
Because you forgot my birthday,
Again,
and you have to pay for that.
We're operating on Assassin's Creed logic, where the guards take politely turns to actually attack you.
You won't see this in Hitman, I'll tell you that much. In the more recent game, they all shoot at you.
Alright, another ramp of stairs to go. Oh, fuck.
I'd rather not.
Also, another thing that I noticed is that every time Bourne gets hit in the face, his neck kinda elongates a bit. There's a bit of, animation error on the 3D model. It's a bit
Nah,
weird.
it just means he's a
It's
living
like
Looney
in Luigi's
Tune.
Mansion 3 when Peach hugs Mario and Luigi and her neck just elongates. It's the most cursed thing ever.
Bad memories, Dad.
No. It's just like, oh, this feels unnatural.
Also, the reason why I cannot perform a takedown is because apparently the game is not registering any of the surrounding area ideal for one. Weirdly enough. There we go, now it's a proper one.
Good job that red mist is gone.
Alright, let's see. I think more guards. He really does look like Joel.
He really does.
Again, this was like, what, 5 years before The Last of Us.
Maybe The Last of Us took inspiration from this game.
Not sure. To be perfectly frank, this type of haircut and beard combo is relatively common, so...
Yeah, it's called the 710 hairstyle.
It's usually Cory Barlog who's more into... like, for example, like for the new God of War, he actually got one of the Dead Space writers to co-write the game with him. Like, it's usually Cory Barlog who's more into referencing other games because there's also the sailing mechanic from that God of War is also inspired by Wind Waker. Like, so it's if it was Last of Us, then yeah, I would say. But with Last of Us, not. Probably not.
Also, the terrorists were trying to free the convict all look like either Counter-Strike Global Offensive, a mix between Counter-Strike Global Offensive terrorists and, heist people from Payday. So weird. Thankfully, the guards are not against you anymore, so actually they can be a useful distraction, or at least they will not harass you. But you'll have to contend with again the entire band of the convicts, and they're like by the dozens. They're even a small army. Where the fuck do they come from?
Don't you just feel like?
Yeah, how did with all the security they managed to go undetected until now?
Don't you just feel like taking on the whole world at some point? This is one of those moments.
That's besides the point. It's like how the rest of the world did not notice these people. All right.
They were distracted.
It's also the fact that Zurich is one of the most, security alerted cities in the entire world.
Look,
and this is a post 9/11 kind of world airport.
Maybe they suffer from whatever affliction the people in Zack Snyder's Metropolis were going through, where they wouldn't notice a fucking terraforming boom right outside their window.
That happened.
Like, seriously, Bruce Wayne had to actually warn that guy. Look out the window, there's a terraforming beam, and it's making this gigantic cliff, and yet somehow the guy didn't
What is this?
Bruce Wayne. It sounds like in that universe, Bruce Wayne has a really low standard of employee competence.
There we go. Okay, the good news is that from these terrorists you get, like, I guess it wasn't supposed to be an assault rifle. Again, I'm not an expert on firearms, so I cannot really recognize most of them. But it's useful because, with this you get ammo refills constantly, meaning that your dinky pistol might not be enough. Yeah, this is one of those games where your starting weapon does not have infinite ammo automatically, but thankfully you get showered enough, so you're good to go. Even you cannot be soft locked like that. Seriously, all these people are just a bunch of guys in suits with baklavas on them.
Welcome to the Zurich airport. We are here to help give you the most relaxing encounter here ever. Please proceed carefully and refrain from shooting others.
Alright, let's take the stairs in a fashion
Yeah,
way.
that's not very
fashionable
nice.
way. I also love how for the quick time event, you know, that low kind of action with the gun, specifically the assault rifle. Jason like shoots as a ball. What's it called?
Wait, Jason, no! Don't carry your gun through the metal detector. Put it in the side and run it through the conveyor belt first.
Unfortunately, time does not allow manners like these.
How uncouth.
Yeah, Jason Bourne, you should be setting an example.
If he could remember that example he sets.
But around this point he does.
Oh. Wait,
That's
hold
why
on.
I jump cutted because I did actually game over in this bit, so I just
Okay,
restarted
remind
the
me.
checkpoint.
Which part of the movie is this at?
This is an original one. One of the original. This is a flashback with Bourne is having about a mission that he did in Zurich.
Oh, this is a flashback, okay.
Supposedly this part, if I recall correctly, happens in the book, but I don't know for certain.
It wasn't entirely clear to me that he was having a flashback given how the cutscene was shot and whatnot.
It's mostly because it's on the same place where he is at that moment of the story, basically.
Huh.
There we go. Otherwise, again, this is just you storming this entire fucking airport against this army of people with baklavas. Again, at the very least, the quick time action at least spices a bit more the per-person shooting fights. I had to, you know, not admit, but you know, I have to give small credit where it's due. A game like, you know, a per-person shooter, kind of in the style like this, was basically the norm back then between all the CODs and Medal of Honor competitors. So I get the idea why they wanted to stylize like this. But I also have to notice, I think that we did mention in, you know, one of the early parts that, again, High Moon Studios is very competent. But it's also noticeable that this was the second game they ever developed, believe it or not. So already they were putting up this kind of level of quality. But sure, it's not the super most ecstatic one, but again, still very impressive.
Again. You have to take into consideration how great a game is, even sometimes in regards to its development phase here. Because given the development circumstances that this game had going for it, this game is nothing short of a miracle that it is this good. And mind you, that's not even saying like, oh, it's so-and-so by most game standards. Like, no, it still is an overall pretty good and fun game.
I will tell you, again, it's not super perfect because the controls, like I said, are a bit janky, and again, you can tell that the damage dealing isn't super balanced even in early difficulties, but again, it's still a fun time, so there is that.
Would you say too, it's kind of like a more modern equivalent of what we saw with David Perry's Aladdin game? You know, a game that was made in, you know, against all odds, its short running time.
I don't know if the development cycle of this was hampered by being super short, you know, dictated by the fact that they had a little time to do it, but I suppose in a way, at least. Let me also mention this quickly. One other thing that the game doesn't tell you, but your burn sense allows you to do it, but I think it's a bit more useful than just, you know, highlighting the useful things on the map. You know, it automatically turns the camera towards the closest enemy if you're not facing it, which is super useful if you're like clearing a bit, but you're having an enemy flanking you and you don't realize that. That is actually a good feature in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a very nice innovation. And surprisingly, not a lot of games caught on to that idea back in the day.
Sometimes a game does that automatically, in a sense that it just, you know, every time an enemy, you know, is about to reach you, it catches your attention. Yes, also this particular level also has a couple of these loading screen minor freezes. I don't know why. It's not like the airport is, you know, bigger compared to other areas, trust me. Some of them will actually be bigger than this, so I don't know. Oh, fuck, he's getting away. And no, before you ask, no, it's basically a scripted event, so he's supposed to get away like that.
I do like how energetic this music is. Oh, you know it's on. Now just...
Alright.
So what you're saying, so it's like Shaq, it's on.
Police reports indicate
It's on now.
Did this ever get a sequel, or it was just a one-time?
No, it was just a one-time thing. I kinda would have liked, you know, something that continued it based on the following movies, you know, also with this style. But I guess Activision was not really interested in either Activision or whoever was responsible behind the movies or the books for that matter to continue after this. You have to remember that this, when it came out, was it was received warmly, you know, not much positively, if I recall correctly. Let me see.
And just to be sure, what year did this come out? 2008.
2008. Okay. So the competition when it came to actual shooters was also very high.
Yeah.
I do wonder if a bit of that was kind of the stigma that tie-in games were getting, because, well, yeah, even by 2008, tie-in games were, I wouldn't say that they were completely reviled, but they were starting to get a reputation.
On the point, Jova, because a review of the time from 41 Mania, I don't know what that is, gave the Xbox 360 version a score of 6.8 out of 10, of course, and called it a fine game with a fun hand-to-hand combat system. Beyond that, it meets about the average requirements for a game in today's market. Good sound, quality graphics, and animation, a popular license. Unfortunately, the short-lived campaign, that is true, this game is actually very short, and lack of replay value hurt the game quite a bit. Regardless, it's worth for rental, so pick it up and give it a try. The story of the book and movie are greatly overshadowed by the action sequences of the game, which makes for a fast-paced and fun time, but if you have problems forgetting Jason Bourne's amnesia, don't feel bad, it's not important anyway.
Okay, this game was released at full price, right?
The usual, Jova. So yeah, much like with all the other licensed games where we talked about this, it's worth repeating that yes, this was still sold at $60, and as much as I had fun with this game, no, it was not worth $60.
I do get the feeling that may be kind of what carved out some of the scores of these critical reception, and you know what? I can't entirely blame critics for docking a game for costing this much while not providing enough content to warrant a game that much, because...
I'm fine with yeah, this is something that, like, a lot of people were trying to figure out during this gen. And, a short game is fine, but it needs replayability or something substantial in order to make it worth buying.
Otherwise, it needs to be priced accordingly.
Because I love Transformers Devastation, but Matt,
oh, overpriced.
$60.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. Oh, boy.
Also, you noticed the music before, Jova? Okay, did not notice, and it's been a while since we recorded it. But apparently, the game does recycle a couple of musical themes from the movie. So that also explains why some of the music does cut out a bit. Also, a small correction. The interview with Matt Damon, when it came to his desire about the game, was from 2016, not 2021. It was just that I found an article that was actually from last year that did recycle the same news. Oh, so I love all these terrorists don't even bother to actually get some money from the ATMs. Also, apparently, the Zurich airport connects towards the proper airplane via a small subway system. Because remember, we're not actually going to the main city. The conflict is wants to escape via a personal jet that is on, you know, the landing zone, you know. So for some reason, he's actually escaping via. Oh, you piece of shit! He's escaping via the subway system.
A subway?
Didn't know Joel was this much of a coward.
A subway system connected to an airport. How weird. No, how did he even?
About that, Joe.
What?
That's not as uncommon as you put it.
Ah, Jason, I see you're...
like, reaching a train when it's gaining speed very rapidly.
Yeah.
A subway system and a...
Oh, that's a big better question, because
So
the
I
only...
see...
Sorry, go on.
So I see that Jason has been taking inspiration from his cousin James.
Also, these...
Oh my god, I didn't know that Jason Bourne was related to James the Steam Engine.
Yeah, I know, right?
Also, these subway cars are, for being, from Zurich, which is, again, much like the rest of Swiss, is pride itself for being very, polished, updated, and clean. These subway cars look like garbage.
They're also pretty fragile, honestly.
Maybe they're retiring this train after today. It's literally this train's last day before retirement.
Also, Dej, again, my own experiences with being personally, at least in airport, were two cases, one in London and one in Manchester. So, and both were basically connected via minibus in terms of actually reaching the upper landing zone.
So when
trains were present, but only to connect via the main city.
Pretty much.
So when I went to California, in order for me to get to the airport, I did have to take the subway. It's like right next door. So.
Well, I get it being next door, but this one seems to imply that the subway is right in the airport, which is weird.
That's what it means, because it's connecting to the landing and the parking zone, where Joel has basically his own personal chat that he's about to use.
Please do.
So it's an internal kind of thing.
I've never seen an airport that has a subway installed into it.
Like, it has to be really that big.
Again, and given how you're close to runway territory, so it's kind of a bit inconvenient to dig underneath that too.
Yes, Pedro?
But at the very least, now we know exactly what was Joel's job before the apocalypse. So there you go, deepest lore.
A terrorist.
Losing his daughter kind of turned him into a supervillain for a bit.
Well, Tail, maybe it's just like you say, that explains the ending. Then,
of course.
Maybe that's the idea. Don't you see?
Oh, come on, guys. Surely we know what Joel's hobbies were before the events of the first game. Golfing.
Golf joke. Yeah, I
saw that one coming.
Yeet.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
Sure.
He's fine.
Also, yet another loading screen. Yeah.
Also, that music, seriously, somebody was going ferocious on those drums there.
Paulo Confold really loves this drum set.
Not all of them, but some are actually recycled from the movie itself. So there is that.
It's kind of like in Remember Me, where the music is so extra. It's constantly bombasting, even when there's nothing going on.
The music in Remember Me is so interesting because it's so experimental. Again, the guy who made it, I forgot already the name, but he's famous for doing stuff like, say, the Hour in the Dark reboot, which actually, as the score in that game is probably the best part of it.
Which is funny, Remember Me, isn't that the game that you guys joked is unmemorable?
Well, others did. I actually am quite fond of it at the very least. But it's probably...
The composer was Olivier Deriveri.
Thank you. He's actually, I would argue it's basically the video game equivalent to Hans Zimmer in a little sense, because he's super experimental in whatever he does. And for Remember Me, he tried to combine some classical tunes with distorted electronics, but in a way to resemble the whole thing that the entire world has been this cyberpunk Blade Runner-esque dystopia that is deeply connected by the things that you put in the back of your brain, kind of like in the Matrix.
He was also
in a way, and so it represents all this distortion and glitchiness.
He was also a composer for Streets of Rage 4 and the Plague Tale games.
Yeah. Again, with Plague Tale is actually playing more safe to represent the time period, traditional kind of, medieval instruments that fit the time. But it makes sense for those kind of games, obviously. for Alone in the Dark, the Alone in the Dark reboot, for some reason, he used a combination of synthesized orchestra, and even though it sounds really good actually, and a choir of Bulgarian women actually. And I can tell you that the result is actually very enjoyable. Like I said, easily probably the best part of the game, the soundtrack.
Yep. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. No, Remember Me is not a bad game. It's just that, you know, the ideas are not as fleshed out. And even the developers themselves have said that, yeah, because of the restrictions they were kept in. Because remember, before they picked up the game, they went on to pitch it for various companies, and they
had all struggled. We wanted first Activision, if I recall correctly, and then Ubisoft, but both of them rejected it. And I don't know if it was a constant with everyone, but a prominent reason why we got rejected is because we weren't so sure about having Neelin as a female protagonist. Yeah. And even then, when Capcom actually greenlighted them, despite the fact that in-game, Neelin is a perfectly fine character, you know, on its own run and everything, without, you know, having even the tropes of the time, even for the time being, it wasn't like, say, we got a shower scene or emphasizing on her cleavage or something. Bam! Slap her ass in the cover. Like...
I mean,
it's a case where it's not unnecessary. If it was like Bayonetta, it makes sense for the character, you know, to provoke the player like that. But for the case of Neelin, it's just there out of nowhere.
Was that made a sex appeal, or was... Wait, hold on, I have a question. Was that made a sex appeal, or was that just one of the default hero poses on covers kind of versions?
Could be both.
Well, here's one thing that will be interesting for you, Joe. It was the first game that Dontnod made before they made Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Basically, because it was Dontnod's attempt to create a sci-fi AAA new IP, but unfortunately, because of the way Capcom treated the game, both marketing-wise and development-wise, it ended up basically being a very underwhelming in terms of sales. As a result, Capcom basically just, and as a result, Dontnod actually had to restructure. And then they made
because of also their contract, Capcom still owns the IP properly. So if you want a sequel, they have to engage with someone.
What game is this?
Sorry?
What game is this?
Remember Me. So, hold on. I'm curious, Pedro and Glibs. Like, I know what Tio thinks of the game. What did you guys think of it overall? I haven't gotten around to watching our show of that one.
It's fine, but the story feels unfinished, which the director has since admitted that yes, it was.
What happened?
All right.
Oh wait,
now we sneak into Joe's private plane. Okay, more of a jet is an actual proper cargo plane.
Are we gonna do this?
Everyone in.
Are we about to go Uncharted free on this?
No. Well, we can eat someone from it, kind of like that. But we don't really get the set piece of everything flying off and, you know...
The car doesn't run us over.
They do try to crush us with the content of the cargo, but it's not a case where, you know, it's a case of just dodge it. That's basically it. But, alright, please, the APC.
Really? You're doing that just to try and crush a guy? Like, there goes an entire tank!
But basically, also, Joe, but I can tell you this, when it came to Remember Me, for the, admittedly, you know, minor capacity of the people who actually played it, the community is relatively, you know, not stable, but in a sense of moderately positive at the very least. And much like with Azura's Wrath, they kind of wish Neelin was used in more crossovers. You know, for Capcom side.
I will have to wait and see so I can judge properly.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
The old playthrough is relatively old enough, and you weren't present, so it can, you know, be a warrant.
I will say this, like, well, okay, everything I've seen of that game, okay, it sounds like an interesting concept, though. What year was that game made?
2013.
Ah, the Dark Age of Capcom.
I remember
this is actually what they mean when they said that back then Capcom was still for actually making good games among all the bunch. But whatever. The point is that now we have to beat the shit out of Joel, basically the final boss. He's actually
was right.
He's actually relatively not tough, but he can dish out more damage, and he is a bit faster than the other books and bosses that you fought before. So this incentivizes you to raise your guard a bit more than the other cases. Also, as you can see, since we're in a cramped space, the camera angle can start to become very wonky.
Oh dear.
Oh, and now it pulls out a knife. Essentially, it becomes even more deadly if it hits you.
Come on, Joel. Jason.
Yes, fence with the fire extinguisher.
Let me put it this way, Joe. It's Dontnod's best game. Take that for what?
Okay, yeah, because that can have quite a double meaning, given that Dontnod don't exactly have the best reputation.
I don't even know what they make.
Okay, Life is Strange. Okay, let me put it this way.
Also,
Okay,
I forgot
go
that
ahead, Theo, go
there
ahead.
was also that other game they did for Microsoft.
Tell me why.
Tell me why.
Okay, let me put it this way.
Heartbreak.
No, I have yet to tell me why. I have it, but I have yet to play for it because I recently played for Life is Strange 2, and that game was such horrendous garbage that I'm taking a break from Dontnod right now.
I don't blame you.
Everything he's told me about that game feels like a fever dream.
No,
And yet it's
that
real
game,
somehow.
Let me put it this way, Tail. Dontnod did it. They made a worse game than Last of Us Part 2. I am not even kidding you when I say that.
Wow. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Whoops.
Pilot is dead. The plane is gonna crash. Grab a parachute and get the hell out of
How do you know the
Sure,
pilot's
but-
dead?
yeah,
We're not wearing a camera last I checked.
Apparently, the organization for which Jason works is such smart. Yeah, that's a thing from the movies that I did not even get. But they seem to be even smarter than their own agents. Alright, Lives, we have a one-liner to the occasion. Your flight's being cancelled? I don't know.
Due to turbulence.
See you for the next part where we hopefully continue the present of...
Apologies for the
Bourne.
diversion.
See ya.
See ya.